Well, hello and welcome. We're here for week 8 of season 2 at the WTRL. We're here with APAC to kick off what is the final week of racing. I can't believe it's happening already. I'm Kate Bates. I'm joined by the whiteboard wielding Zwift legend, that is Anna Russell. Had to trip over that one, didn't I, Anna? And I can't believe we're at the end of season 2 already. It has just been crazy.
Oh, isn't it? I was devastated to miss last week. It looked like such amazing racing. So I'm stoked to be here tonight and look at the team time trial along what looks like, on paper, a pretty easy course, but actually turns out to be quite hard. I DS'd earlier today in the Prem division and there was a lot of heavy breathing on that Discord channel.
It always makes me laugh to consider what people may think is going on if they were to just tune in accidentally. Now let's move straight past that comment and go and take a look at what the course looks like tonight, because Anna, it is the greatest London flat, not the Greater London flat. So it's a slightly bigger loop out into Surrey. I wouldn't say there's hills per se, but maybe a few little challenges.
Yeah, it surprised me actually looking at how it played out earlier today, and that there isn't actually a huge amount of just flat. So there are lots of ups and downs, little sort of 4% kickers. You go through that subway, which has this sort of really low sort of negative 14 grade and then 14 back up, and you go through Richmond Park. It's tricky. It's a hard course to sort of keep the momentum even and keep your team together. So the teams that know each other really well and probably have a good DS on board tonight, I think will reap the rewards and have a good race.
Well, we've got a few pretty tight races going on actually across the board. In points in the women's A, Zed Sun and Aero, they actually on points don't look like they're particularly close. But if you drill down to what's been happening in the last couple of weeks racing especially, it is still a really tight race between them. And of course, Anna, you missed DPAC and their wonderful performance last week on Libby Hill after party. I think they will be out there tonight to try and finish the season off with a bit of a bang. But we can't really also look past Beast Mode, who have been pretty motivated this season. They stepped into season 2 out of nowhere and made a huge impact. And in every single race, they've really wanted to make their mark.
Yeah, exactly. There've been some good battles at the top. You've also got TBR Smile On. We Ate the Cake out there as well. I mean, all these teams, they're becoming fan favorites. I'm loving seeing them out there. And in this team time trial format, those teams, that just get along so well and have great camaraderie tend to perform the best. So I think we'll see some good performances from those other categories tonight as well.
Yeah, well, let's take a bit of a quick recap of where everybody's standing overall before we jump down to the racing, get a bit of an idea of what's on the line tonight. So we'll start with the A women there. And Zed Sun, they are leading at the moment. They've had an incredible season, incredibly consistent amongst them. Aero, they look, again, Anna, as I said, they look quite adrift in the points status, but that does not mean that it might not be a tight race out there tonight. Big kudos to both of those teams there.
And look at the Bs, the Caffeines and TBR Smile On, the team I was mentioning, really tight there, 1 point between it. So keep an eye on those two teams because that's going to be a really hot battle.
Looking forward to that one. Let's take a look at C. We've got AHDRL, the Hump Day Rider ladies squad, taking up the first 4 there. With We Ate the Cake, the Comets in second, but look, pretty tight race for second there with Spin Mafia. Both on 128 points. The Cruisettes sitting in 4th. Brave C in 5th. Herd of Bilbies, that's your favourite, Anna, in 6th. And the CMA it. Queen Bees coming in 7th. I'm yet to convince you that Bilbies are cute, but they actually are.
I'll still go with the rat with bunny ears. But looking at Division D here, the Degenerates commanding lead out the front over there. AHDRL Compatriots, the Diamonds, and then the CMA Velo Girls in 3rd.
All right, let's take a look at the fellas. DPAC, well, the race is still tight, but DPAC Elite on 138 points, Beast Mode Crew on 135. These two teams have certainly been the ones we've been talking about the most, but we've had some big results from riders on other teams. Team ZWC Blast in 3rd, the Evo Savages in 4th, Cryogen Super Banyeres in 5th, World Elite Zwifters number 2 and 6th, Smooth as Sun in 7th, the WMZ All-Stars in 8th, WTRL Pioneers in 9th, and Sickly Stefanelli sitting in 10th.
And in the BCAT, the Evo Barbarians and the AHDR Blowflies, they are tied up at the top, 1 and 2, so that'll be a good one tonight. Dirty Sprockets in 3rd, then a bit further back, TV Gungna, WNZ Bumble, Vision APAC, Cryogen Etnas in 7th, Velo Club Melo Sable, presented by Cycling Tips in 8th, ZHQ, that's Zwift headquarters, Ravens in 9th, and Zed Sundries in 10th.
All right, let's take a look at the C. We've got the AHDR Chances. They are sitting on the top of the pile there, 6 points ahead of Cryogen LT, Sportive and Beer Rulers. We love that jersey in 3rd. AHDR Choppers in 4th, the Chargers in 5th, TT1 Carbos in 6th, Charlie in 7th, WMZ Chasers in 8th, Evo Flux in 9th, Valhalla Levantine coming in 10th there. Across every division, Anna, we've just seen such competitive races. It's been pretty good to see. It is hard to believe this is the last normal round for the season.
Oh, I know. It's a bit sad, actually. And the DCATs here, just finishing this out. AHDR Diesels, WMZ Dodgers in 2nd, Cryogen Mount Hotham in 3rd, and Delta in 4th.
Alrighty, well, we'll head down when we've got some pictures to do so. But Anna, this could be a bit of a tricky course for a team's time trial. And I think the reason is because on paper it looks pretty easy. And everybody by this stage in the season thinks, we've got this, we've done a lot of these. But if that comes into play at all and people just sit back and take it for granted, I just can see some gaps opening up where they don't mean it to be. And I want to see everybody finish on a high. I'd really love to see every team finish pretty satisfied and happy with what they've done.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's a long course, 31K. I mean, that could take sort of 45 minutes to an hour, for some of the teams. That's a long time to be time trialing out there. And if you've gone too early, too hard too early, man, that last 10K is going to be a massive sufferfest.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes people talk about time trials and team time trials like they're so romantic. They are not romantic at all. They are so painful. And on so many occasions, you are just absolutely hanging on for dear life. But there's a lot to be said, Anna, for teams who actually get on really well at a personal level and are really comfortable with the way that they communicate. And that often works a lot better than the teams with some really big hitters, but that sometimes maybe go out there and try and race their own race.
Yeah, well, you see the teams who know each other really well and have been riding together for a while, they'll know everyone's sort of strengths and weaknesses. They might know, Sally goes off a little bit hard off the front, but don't worry, she'll pull it back so no one has to sort of surge and chase. Then they'll know, Terry drops off the back, but don't worry about him, he'll be fine. He can sort of jump back on. So, they get to know each other's little sort of intricacies pretty well. And I think that's where you see really good teams. But others, who are a bit newer to the game, that's where you see some massive explosions or like the hero maneuvers off the front, drilling off the front at 7 watts a kg and leaving the team for dust. And, they're always fun to commentate on, though. I like those ones too.
You're a sicko, Anna Russell. In my head, I've got this little tune going with Sally goes off and Terry drops off, like poor Sally and poor Terry. But we don't want any Sallys and we don't want any Terrys tonight. That's for sure.
Exactly. And I've got to say, there's been some pretty good chat about the fashion everyone's got out there too. So I'm excited for this. Feels like a bit of a party round, the last race of the regular season, and might be a bit of orange out there, unfortunately.
Yes, well, I think that you have been crowned honorary Queen of the Fashion Police, Anna. So we'll have to make sure everybody's well dressed for this evening. Let's go down and take a look at the pictures and see exactly what their avatars have chosen to wear tonight. A few nods to your aversion to orange, perhaps.
Yeah, it looks like we're down here with Aero, Kath McKay and Jess Bemrose. Jess Bemrose and I have been messaging a little bit lately. We have actually realised we used to race together on the same team. So the other week when I saw her racing and was like, that name looks familiar, she messaged me and was like, yes, we raced together for quite a while. So there we go. She's a very, very decent rider. And this team will be pretty strong. Was it Kim Garland, Kath McKay, Jess Bemrose, I mean, they've brought out the hitters.
I actually like that Aero mixed it up a little bit because last week on Libby Hill after party, Jen Pettinan won and won solo. It arguably was the ride of the week across every geographical location that I watched and commentated on. She really had such a standout ride up that climb. But I note that she's not actually out there tonight because they've got a bit of a TT squad going. And they do mix it up a bit based on the courses. I like that. I mean, it shows not only do they have a lot of depth, although is that Jen now that we're looking at? Okay, so rewind everything
like her,
I just said, Anna. It does, but I still stand by her ride last week. And look, she's even got the Aero helmet on. Well, let's talk about bikes for a second while we're looking at her beautiful Aero setup there. Aero helmet, disc wheel. It would be hard to go past that being the best setup.
Yeah, that is a good one. I do see a few of her teammates have got the Trons. Actually, the one who's got the better setup is the one we just see there in the group with the Super 9 disc wheel. So it's the kind of colourful one you see there with the pink hat on, pink socks, colourful wheel, looking great. That's Jess Bemrose. There we go, my mate who I used to race with. So she's got an awesome setup. I actually think I rode with her when she hit level 50 and was able to get some of those wheels. So yeah, that is the ideal setup for today's ride. And then a couple of people who don't have discs, Tron is the best. So looks good. I know people have been talking about the Tron and whether it's as good in the draft. I've done a little bit of testing and I think personally it's still pretty good in the draft. So I think these guys have definitely done their homework and picked the right bikes.
Yeah, I've listened to a podcast with Eric Min, the founder of Zwift, the other day, and he was talking about just how tough it is to hit some of these monuments in game, like your level 50 or your Tron bike, and that it's so easy to watch it and think, why aren't they using the best bike they can? But we also have to remember that that can be a pretty big journey to even have access to those bikes.
Yeah, I mean, it's 50,000 metres of a journey, really. And I think probably the most devastating thing is if you haven't hit the Everesting challenge and you go and ride 50,000 metres and then realise you don't get the Tron because you hadn't selected the right challenge. I always find that really, really devastating.
Yeah, that's me. That's me, Anna. I did that. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I didn't hit 50,000, but yes, I got a fair way into it and didn't understand why I wasn't getting the updates like everybody else was. Because I just kind of, when I first jumped on, flicked past all of that. And I know I'm not alone in that. I know there must be others out there.
Oh, it's got to be probably the saddest moment on Zwift, I think, when you realise that and all that hard work for nothing. But I am looking at this team's, I know it's Team Aero and they are ahead in this women's A division, but they're not riding particularly in what I'd call the best team time trial format. It's kind of that bunch up at the back, no clear leader from what I'm seeing, not really a clear turn. Maybe just there, they should really be staying in that straight line, especially at the moment. It's almost the flattest part of the course on the mall. Is it the mall, I think? The mall?
The mall. The mall.
The mall.
I don't know. How do you say that in a British accent? The mall. The mall?
The mall.
The mall? I don't know.
There we go.
I would have thought from an Aussie and a Kiwi that we might have that nailed, but alas.
Right. I know. I feel like being a Commonwealth, I should know that, but no. But they look like they're getting a little bit more ordered now. About 4.9 watts per kg on the front, so doing pretty well. It's a good question. So from Phil Steps here, how would we find Season 2 compared to Season 1? Any ideas, changes, tweaks you'd like to see for Season 3? Oh, it's a great question. I have raced most of Season 2 and Season 1. From a racing point of view, I preferred Season 2. I liked that there were only 3 team time trials, and I liked that one of the team time trials was on a crazy course in New York. I liked that there were some hills. Season 3. Oh, you answer the Season 2 v Season 1, Katie, then I'll have a think about Season 3.
Yeah, well, look, I think that Season 2, what I really liked was that they introduced mixed teams. So we had some ladies competing in the mixed division, which, men's mixed. I really love seeing that. I did love the course variety as well. But the other thing I think has made it really interesting has been the depth of points offered in season 2 that has really made everybody push all the way to the line. It's added a bit more incentive to just keep going rather than getting dropped and getting out of there. What can they add for season 3? Gosh, it's always an evolution, isn't it? But I do think that it is. There's such a rich history now of WTRL doing these team time trials. And so I don't mind that there's less team time trials in this, and we kind of preserve that as the domain for the TTT. That might be a little bit controversial. We might get the producers barking at us in the ear for saying that, since it's their love child. But alas, fellas, you can talk to us offline about that. Sorry about that. No, but I really do love these points races. I love that we've had some pretty big climbs. With Innsbruck, Libby Hill After Party was a really great race. The courses have just been fantastic.
Yeah, I can't even, you've gone through as great reasonings from you, Kate. I think having the fastest time segments has been one of the funnest additions to season 2 as well. Just being able to have really, really good sort of team strategies in place. Don't know, maybe just head out on a few of the lesser known courses. I'd like to see some of the ones on the new roads. Is it the one that goes on the sort of Alp bypass? Would be quite cool. I haven't seen many races on that. Maybe, it'd be a bit hard to have a crit with the numbers of people in this one, but maybe something that's super fast paced. Can't believe I'm saying that because I love the hills,
we haven't headed to Crit City, have we? That would be pretty cool.
No. Yeah, so I think, I don't know. I mean, I think the team's doing such a good job. I'll probably suggest something and then they'll come out with something that's amazing that I didn't even think of. So let's see what season 3 has in for store, eh? April 6th, I think, we start off season 3. So that's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, look, I think it's great that everybody can regroup a bit after this. But something that I've been incredibly impressed with that I think the points tables doesn't necessarily give away is just how well some of the teams have been racing. Aero, for example, on paper, they're a fair way adrift of Zed Sun. But in actuality, they've had some huge animators of racing. Jen Petton and I mentioned earlier from her incredible ride last week at Libby Hill. It's actually been far more interesting than I think those boards would necessarily have you think. And I like that. I think the teams have all evolved quite a lot in strategy. There's been a real evolution of some of the names we first started talking about in season 1. Come season 2, it's not even necessarily that their numbers in Zwift Power are better or their physiology has improved all of a sudden with all this training. It's that they've really learnt how to race in the Zwift world, and they've also started to get a little bit sassy and willing to take a bit of a chance. I like that. I mean, I think that's very much in the spirit of what this is all about.
Yeah, exactly. We are just looking here at Zed Sun. They're out on course. Looks like they've got a dropped rider already. I wonder if they will wait. She's 3 seconds behind. They do have a team of 6 out there, but they've really gapped Fuller off the back when they had Danette Shaw on the front. She was pushing some massive watts, obviously a bit too much, and it looks like they may not wait because they're pushing pretty hard off the front still. 4.5 watts a kg there from Bolton. And Fuller's now 4 seconds back, so I think they've just gone... no, see you later, which is a bit sad. They're only 10k in, so a bit of a short night there for Fuller, but ruthless here. If you want to win, you've got to make the sacrifices.
Well, it's something to consider as well that we talk about this being the last week, but of course the playoffs are coming up this weekend, so Friday and Saturday for the US or Europe time, which is Saturday and Sunday for the APAC time zone. And so these teams, this isn't the end for them. So I think Zed Sun, they get to have a little bit of fun with it today. If that means going absolute flat chat and seeing what happens, they can kind of afford to do that, give their riders a little bit of leeway, because come playoff time, that's serious. This is their last team's time trial, and bearing in mind that in the playoffs, Anna, there is a team's time trial. So if any team wants to try out a rider, or if they want to test a new time trial order or strategy, this is the time to do it, and this is kind of the safe time to do it. And that might be a little bit of what they're doing. Look, the other consideration is maybe there's one or two riders who are sitting on the bench at the moment who might get subbed in for playoffs. So that's something to consider well, because then the riders are kind of virtually trying out for that playoff season, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. I think I haven't seen Fuller before in Zed Sun, so you're right there. It could have just been sort of a sub in. Maybe they just really want to start with that 6-rider combination. But it looks like this is a team that's humming along pretty well now. Compared to Aero, they're definitely in a bit of a better sort of TTT format, I would say, hitting more of that straight line. Like I said, though, at the beginning of the show, is that this course, it looks flat, but if you look at that little elevation map in the top right, no matter where you are, it's always kind of like a bit up and a bit down. It's not really a whole lot of 0%. So you can see there on the gradient at the bottom, it's not really that flat, and it is really hard to sort of stay together and stay on wheels and not surge the ups and then not lose people on the downs. So yeah, tricky course, and it looks like Aero has dropped a rider. They've dropped Reed there off the back, so she's on that aqua sort of marine Tron, and unfortunately, yeah, it looks about 35 seconds back. So maybe a strategic move. Maybe they saw Zed Sun had gone down to 5.2 and just thought, oh, we can probably do faster riding with one rider dropped off. But yeah, we've got our Jess Bemrose on the front riding at a cool 5 watts a kg there.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, if you individually drill down to what each of these riders are capable of, it's pretty intimidating. They're some real engines. When you put that collectively together, when they learn to work really well together, they just hit some pretty incredible speeds that almost, I mean, it's very much, I think, a part where you go, the parts are greater than, the greatest sum, where you put them all together and all of a sudden it really amplifies all of their efforts. And I think that's definitely something we'll see both with Aero and with Zed Sun, because both of the teams are really pushing the limits of pretty impressive performances out there. It is a pretty intimidating event though, right, Anna? Like, you go out there, you do have a plan, there is some communication happening, but if you're not feeling particularly good, at what point do you call that? At what point do you let your teammates know that maybe you need to sit on for a turn? Maybe your turn's not going to be quite as strong, or maybe a little bit shorter. I think physically it's very tough, but mentally it's also really tough.
Yeah, I mean, I know on the Team IDS this morning, we knew when someone was dropping off because they started screaming on Discord, "I've blown, I've blown." So that's it's
Yeah,
usually
that's a dead giveaway, that
a kind
one.
of sudden thing. That was a dead giveaway. So yeah, I think you'll start to see a heart rate just go way above and spike, and you'll go, there we go. Looks like we might head over to the bees now. Good battle there between Aero and Zed Sun, but let's see what's happening there. Oh, TBR Smile On. Now, there is a good story here about TBR Smile On. They're giving a little bit of cheek to you, Kate, for how much you talk about pizzas when you see Margarita out there.
Well, what can I say? She makes me think of some quite nice alcoholic beverages or pizza, and I am a pizza lover, so they do, they definitely have me thinking of that. Lucy, we had her on our bunch ride this morning. She was having a good cruise and a good chat. They're all really good sports, these ladies, and I do love how they are as a squad. I think there's a lot of good friendship going around. They also got a really good roster where they do swap a few riders in and out. And, I think that if at the end of the day they do step up to the next division, they really deserve it. And I think that they do have enough depth as well, Anna, that they can really make that work for them without having to worry too much about that whole real life getting in the way, work schedules, kids, etc., because sometimes it can be quite hard over long seasons to have that consistency if you do have a smaller squad. But the Smile On crew, they've got a pretty solid talent pool. It's been great to watch them.
Yeah.
I look forward to them stepping up next season, actually.
Yeah, and they have a great bunch of nicknames too. I've been sent, there's Captain Wonder Wheels out there tonight, Tow Truck Tess, Slingshot Sarah, Dance Move Dawn, Supersonic Shabby, Last Place Lucy, and their DS is Kickass Kim Kern Stokes. So, yeah, loving it. And they look When did TBR get their new kit? Because this looks very fresh. I've got to say, really, really nice. Like if they could
It
all
looks
get
good,
that
doesn't it?
with that Tri Academy aquamarine sort of coloured TT helmet and the Aquatron bike. Oh, amazing! I like this. They're looking
Anna's
good.
in
Like
fashion
very
heaven.
fast.
Well, I love that you call it aquamarine. I mean, I think most people will just call it green, but you really drill
No,
down.
no.
I mean, you're getting very technical.
There's different kinds of
on the
green.
colouring. Have you got a Pantone chart out? Are you like comparing it to what it might be?
Yes, I've got a chart of greens out,
Yes.
and that is definitely an
Yes.
aquamarine.
Yeah, and it's affixed to the whiteboard. I see.
They are, yeah, this is amazing. I'm liking this. They're just, yeah, one of my favorite teams I think out there. So they're having a great race, and they're obviously very, very experienced Zwifters. There are a lot of Trons and a lot of those Super 9 wheels. I always look at those wheels with like such envy. I'm so close to getting them, but I don't have them yet, and I just every time go, gosh, they look fast, don't they?
They do. They really do look fast. I mean, I do think there used to be a saying, and it was one of the track sprinters who used to really, was quite vocal about saying it. He would say, look good, feel good, go good. That was his kind of catchphrase.
Oh.
And so it all started with looking good, which meant you felt good. I mean, I guess you follow the logic,
I like
right?
it.
And actually, based on your aversion toward fashion, I would say that very much rings true for you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, look good, feel good. Absolutely. And whether that's your avatar or not, like you're gonna feel good.
Yeah, let's just go with
this
avatars
is-
because I think it's very it's not particularly sexy how sweaty you get Zwifting, no matter how many fans you have.
Oh, for sure. So we'll have a look at the C's now as we come through. This is the group of... Which group is this? I've seen this group out here before.
These are the CMA Queen Bees, I think.
CMA, that's
or the
it.
squad.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the Cycling Mums Australia, the multitaskers here. And can I just pay compliments to who I think is NG there with the orange hair and the orange bike, because that is very excellent coordination going on there.
Yeah, that's okay. I did actually see no socks there too. I want to make a call out of. I am actually. If anyone is seeing me rocking around Zwift at the moment, I am. I'm actually not wearing socks. My avatar, and I am not breaking any rules before anyone. I have been called up on it now a few times because I'm racing in the Zwift Duathlon League. I don't wear socks when I'm doing a triathlon, so I still feel like if you're actually doing a multi-sport event virtually, you can get away with no socks. Thoughts?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure that I agree with you so strongly there, to be honest, Anna. I mean, I might also add that your no words say a lot more than your actual words when you have a big long pause before you respond to any fashion. So perhaps this is where I insert a big long pause there. I don't know. I just think that socks are a big thing, Anna. Like, it's a big social faux pas to not wear socks. Goodness, don't your virtual shoes get a bit of stink on?
Yeah, they kind of do. You put them in the washing machine, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh, I feel like we should talk about the actual bike racing here for a moment.
Oh, this is Team Rave. I do actually. This is a newish team in season 2 because it wasn't a kit I'd seen in season 1, and I like what this team is doing. They're sort of they've come out well. They've sort of come each week with a bit of confidence, and they're definitely getting better. So I like what this team's about. I think they're racing pretty well. It's only 4 out, which is always a bit unfortunate. I don't know if they've dropped anyone. It doesn't look like it. Looks like they just started with 4, but yeah, they're humming along all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally you have 6, but I can definitely say that 4 who work really well together will go a lot faster than 6 who don't. And so sometimes it is a case of just getting down to that core group who know each other very well, who don't surge through, who can respect the pace and the strategy that's going on. Sometimes, Anna, I think even though there is, quite a strategy set in place and everybody understands what's going on, it is an incredible skill, not only in Zwift, but in real life as well, to hold a power. And when somebody is trying to move off or swing off, to keep holding a consistent power and not surge is a huge skill. And that can take years to learn. I feel like that's the one thing that a lot of riders get quite frustrated at there, and they end up staring at their wattage, just trying desperately to hold a power. It is very difficult to do. And so I think when we do see a group of even four working so well together, we're looking at the comments here now, and these four, they do look like they're holding a pretty decent speed and they're working pretty well together. And that is absolutely the basis of a quite cohesive team's time trial.
Yeah, for sure. And we can just see popping up on screen as well some of the results coming in for the C division. And not surprisingly, AHDRL, We Ate the Cake, well ahead of the AHDRL Comet. So looks like they're about 40 to 45 seconds ahead. But a close race there between Comets and Spin Mafia, only 7 seconds in it at split number 1. So looks like We Ate the Cake will continue their domination, but a little bit of a battle for second and third.
Yeah, I think there is quite a good battle going on kind of at the podium level, isn't there? Because again, We Ate the Cake. They've just had such a great season, and AHDRL as a community, I think they're the biggest community in Zwift, Anna. If they're not, they're certainly up there, and they have done some incredible things with building the virtual community for the men, and incredibly also for the women. So if we take a look just in the CCAT, we've got 4 different teams, and they're not just making up numbers. They're really competitive. The Comets and Spin Mafia are absolutely leaving it all out there today to see who can come out on top. And I love that. It's like a bit of intra-club competitiveness, but you do know that they would all sit at the pub and have a good beer together and a good laugh. And I think that almost spurs them on a little bit more, because there's a little bit of pride that comes into play.
Yeah, there was actually a question I got asked once as to what Zwift enhancement you would most want, and mine was at the end of a race, a virtual cafe where you could just kind of sit in there and chill and chat to everyone and talk about how great your race was. I don't know how you would actually make that happen, but yeah, even like sitting as they're racing through London at night time, having a little virtual pub everyone can just pull into at the end and, share a bevy together. It'd be awesome, I think, just to have those chit chats, but we'll see if they take on that enhancement. We are looking at We Ate the Cake here, who look like they've got the full suite of 6, almost 15k into the race, so almost kind of nearing on the halfway point. 31k, 31.1k in this race. So this team's doing pretty well. They're about to take, I believe, a right-hand turn soon, head over the Thames. I think that is the Thames there, and head down into the sort of magical railway station where they'll pop out at Richmond Park and through into near Box Hill and hit a little bit more of the rolling terrain. But these guys have dialed it in. They're looking awesome.
Let's talk about headgear for a second, because obviously there's some riders who are wearing the Aero helmet, but we've got a lovely beret here. I love the beret. Jen Pettinen had a beret on, I think last week, if she was the one who had it. Fabulous headgear. But Anna, is the Aero helmet significantly faster than Mandy there in the beret, or no helmet at all? Is there a difference, or is it just down to fashion?
Definitely fashion. I think maybe 1 to 2% with the Aero helmet. And I've got to say, in a lot of this duathlon league, almost everyone is rocking the Aero helmet because you're just so used to wearing it in real life. But the beret is pretty cool. Do I call that the cheese cutter? I think so. It's probably not my fave of the headwear in Zwift, but it does fall above the visor. If anyone has a visor on, that's it. Like 0 fashion.
I feel like we need a
points,
chart,
sure.
Anna. A chart of where all the fashion comes into play, like the official Zwift community live racing fashion guide. That could help us out there.
I feel like this is very, very much just my own opinion. So, Mandy, if you are loving your beret, then keep rocking your beret. That would be great. I just personally don't love it, but you guys are winning, so maybe it's that a bit of luck. We do see on the left-hand side of the screen now the men A division out on course. Good battles going on there in this racing as well. Beast Mode D-Pack will be good to have a look, but let's have a look at the women Ds, the degenerates there. So many people in that AHDR kit. It's so amazing. Aussie Hump Day Riders, is that it?
It is the Aussie Hump Day Riders ladies, degenerates. I mean, again, this is an amazing community. They've got two teams in here, and Cycling Mums Australia, it's also fabulous to see them fielding teams across a few different divisions. I just want to see these ladies get comfortable in Zwift, get comfortable riding with each other, and have a little bit of fun out there, because that is the name of the game. And especially in a team's time trial, if you can first Anna nail having fun and enjoying it, then that is a really good start.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We can see there the degenerates, good 30-second lead on the diamonds, with the Velo girls a bit further back, a minute 20 back at the first checkpoint. So looks like the degenerates might have it in the bag. The diamonds are, it's always such a hard one for me. It's the name of the Australian netball team, the Diamonds, and I always have just sort of a bit of a negative connotation with that name compared to the Silver Ferns, but I do like how the Diamonds are racing tonight. So they're still close in the game. They could just be pacing themselves. And looking at CMA here, unfortunately down to 3 riders. Now I do believe they have to finish with 4, so this is not a good situation here in the D category for this group here. Maybe they just they did start with 4, so they have lost someone along the way. It's always risky starting with your minimum number of riders, because there can very easily be technicals out there. But looks like these guys are sort of just having a nice ride out here around the Greatest London Flat, just to sort of round out the season. But I don't think these points are going to count, unfortunately, and that's probably why their times are a little bit slower at that first checkpoint compared to the Degenerates and the Diamonds. And looking
Well,
here
you
at
make me
Jess
laugh
Bemrose,
with the old diamonds there, Anna, because they're our pride and joy, our diamonds, above your silver ferns.
Oh no. I think we're actually playing the Australians soon in netball, so we'll just see what happens there. I think we've got a pretty good team at the moment, but yeah, there's been some very heartbroken nights watching those netball games. Looking at Aero, they're just down to 4 now, so they've jettisoned a couple of riders, it looks like. I can't even see them. Gen P, one of their strong riders, off the back, so it's still pushing some pretty high watts. Definitely won't be catching up though, so not quite sure what she's doing there, but maybe just not her night. But Garland, Kim Garland, Bemrose, Kath McKay, and Butterworth still having a good race there. But it'll be interesting to see. Looks like Zed Sun still got 5 riders, so Aero will be a bit painful for them in this last sort of 6 kilometres.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that Gen P is one of the more dynamic riders we have in the league. And by dynamic, I mean that she's really good on again, off again. She seems to climb really well on the steep slopes where she can get out of her seat and accelerate quite a lot. Teams time trials can be pretty difficult for those sorts of riders, because it's like a diesel slog. Like, you never really get any recovery or any chance to catch your breath in this kind of scenario. And it is a bit of a funny one like that. Like, there's some real specialists in the team's time trial and time trial area. And it's sometimes definitely not the riders that you would think on paper are the strongest out there. But they've put together a really strong squad here. They're moving really quick to be going over 45k an hour and is slightly downhill. That's a lot of power going through the pedals.
Yeah, they would want to be holding around that sort of 43 to 44k an hour average to be well competitive in the community division. They have come through the tricky part of the course, which was over the hills in Richmond Park. A little bit of a kicker where you sort of start on the foothills of Box Hill, but then turn off and head into the rollers. But yeah, they're just ticking over 26 kilometres now, so about 5k left to go. And looks like they're emptying the tanks. It might have been a strategic drop of Gen P. She could have been really pushing that Richmond part, and then these guys will finish it off.
Well, they do overall. There's not a scenario overall where Zed Sun and Aero can change positions on the top of the table, and so I think it is a good opportunity for the teams to just use a good tactic, see what they can do, push themselves, leave it all out there. If it came down to the wire, and it would be whoever won between these teams won the overall. I reckon they'd have pretty different tactics, Anna, because they really couldn't afford to push that little bit further and possibly drop somebody, possibly push someone to the limit. But if either teams push so hard that they did get down to 3 or 4 riders, that would then afford to sit up and wait a little bit. So it's a bit of an interesting dynamic going on. Danette Shaw, gosh, haven't we talked about her a lot the last season? She's been in incredible form. And a really honourable mention, I think, to all of these ladies, because they have made a small field very interesting and dynamic racing on every single night. They've turned up, they've made it aggressive, and they've really never sat back and just rolled it in. And I love that.
Yeah, they've really made it a head-to-head battle that's been super enjoyable. And oh gosh, back to this beautiful kit from TBR Smile On. They're down to 4 riders. Again, it looks like they've dropped a few people along the way. Maybe in Richmond Park again. They're at a very similar position to Aero. Look at that racing between Smile On and the Caffeines. About 4 seconds there at checkpoint number 2, if my math is right. And this is very close. And Smile On was down to 4. Look at this. AHDRL 6.
Wow, isn't that a really different kind of set of circumstances out on course? And what tight racing. Massive kudos to Smile On for pushing it all the way. Down to 4 means they've really left nothing out there, and they have just thrown themselves into this. So I absolutely love that. The Caffeines, they are going to have to throw absolutely the kitchen sink at this if they want to claw those 4 seconds and then some more back. So I think this is going to be a very, very tough final 6 kilometres. They will need some really good communication amongst them because this is a danger point. We're already seeing a few gaps open up. Look at this, Anna. This is really kind of danger territory at this point because they do need at least 4, but they do need to see how fast they can go, how much they can push it without actually dropping more than 2 riders.
Yeah, I was about to call that as a bit of a hero move off the front from Smoker, but it looks like they've pulled her back in on the downhill. So maybe that was a strategic move on a little bit of an up, but they've just got 4 here clustered together and a little gap back to Kong and Simone. So let's see if they end up gapping them off, because 4 at the front, you may as well just keep going with that, really. You've only got about 5 kilometres to go, although Kong I saw pushing some pretty high numbers at the front of that race. So it looks like she's got back on. Simone probably got back on as well, but this team is on fire. You can just kind of feel the intensity.
Oh, look at that 1 second difference. That is just incredible. Lam Kong is one of my favourite riders. Actually, across the series, I just love her style. She's got a fair bit of pizzazz. TBR Smile On, we're looking at that at them now. Come on, ladies. It is absolutely all on the line. It is down to 1 second. It could not be closer. You've just got to bring it home. I just want to see them be able to finish and feel satisfied. And I think Kimberly Kearns-Stokes would probably be getting a little bit excited and possibly raising her voice, Anna, maybe urging them a little bit in the gentlest way to just really leave it all out there and see what they can do.
Oh, it's we're just going to have a quick look at the A's before we might head over and see what's happening in the men's racing. But man, that's a tight race there in the B category with TBR Smile On versus AHDRL Caffeines. And looking here at Kim Garland leading out for Team Aero. They're up against the Zed Sun team, who was doing fairly well with a bigger group of riders. Jen P has definitely dropped off now. She's about a minute back, so she'll get swallowed up by the Zed Sun riders coming through. And fairly tight racing, but it looks like Aero have done pretty well on the day. They're on the red carpet of the Mel. Someone's written on the socials to say it should rhyme with Pal, so the Mel. And they're doing very well, just about 500 meters to go. Oh, no, sorry, 1,500 meters to go.
This is where you just absolutely throw everything that you can out. This is probably the least comfortable 1,500 meters you'll really ever do in a race because there is absolutely no point leaving much in the tank at the finish. They are down to 4, but they've done a great job. Jen Pettinan, she flew the colours proudly last week and had a big ride here already today. She'll finish just a little bit adrift, but the 4 of these Aero riders, they've had a really good season. They should be exceptionally proud, I think, of the progress they've made. And they've got a really strong team in Prem League as well. So a lot of depth across the board. And they should certainly be happy with everything that they've done this season.
Yeah, for sure. And like we talked about earlier with this team, although they can't go up to Prems with a team already there, this could act as a little bit of a sort of trialing ground. So the Prem team looking at those riding in this community division and saying, ooh, okay, a few of those riders have been riding very, very strong. Their numbers are good, and we could see them getting pushed up and riding for their Prem team next season. Oh, look at that. Oh, that makes me a little bit emotional. Great racing with your girl, Zed Sun. Oh, I love that. It's so good, you know?
It is. I love it too. I think the camaraderie, something that I really enjoy watching and commentating on these riders, is you just know that so much heart goes into it. And they're genuinely really kind whenever the messages do pop up publicly, even when it could be a moment where you might think there's a little bit of cranky pants happening. They're actually really respectful. They're really calm. The way that they handle every situation in here, I really respect it. I think it's a very welcoming and inclusive community. And I certainly urge anybody who's been watching but hasn't raced yet to get out there and give it a crack. Look at that, Grace Smith. It's been a blast, girls. Well, we've had an absolute blast commentating on you ladies. So thank you very much for a wonderful season 2 here. Anna, I feel like these are our girls, you know. We've watched them really progress and just race so well. And I do feel a really great sense of pride for how a lot of them have developed. And they should definitely pour themselves a champagne or a mineral water, if it would be, at the end of this evening and pat themselves on the back.
You almost want to just stand there at the finish line and have a big group hug, you know? If you could do that, if you just jump into the screen right now, I just think that'd be great.
Look, we've talked about having a bit of a Zwift get together in Costa Rica. I think we decided on with Dave Toll. So I hope you're on board with that. And I think that we can invite some of the community to maybe like a golden ticket, Anna. Like they'd go to their mailbox and they'd get the golden ticket and off to Costa Rica with us.
Oh, fantastic. Let's do it. Once these borders open, I'm off to Costa Rica. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. This commentary gig is lucrative. We're off to Costa Rica for a team building activity.
Yeah, look, we might have to work on the numbers of that. Put together a spreadsheet, would you?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll propose it to Nathan. I'm sure he'll say yes.
Yeah.
So Zed Sun just coming through here to finish, 100 metres to go. They've got the finish line in sight. Looks like they will just lose out to Aero in the team time trial, but what a blast they've had as well. Great racing. They lost Fuller early on, but they've stayed strong, hung together, and they're all finishing as one cohesive, tight unit, which is always good to see.
It is. They've raced a very good race. We will get the numbers and see the times overall when we can get those through. But for now, they have sprinted all the way to the line. and really pushed. 5 of them have finished there together. We've got one adrift. We're looking at TBR Smile On. They're just coming in now, so they've also had such a great race. It's been a real pleasure to watch how tight this race has actually been today. So look at that. 1 second it was at that last time check, Anna. 1 second with the caffeines. 1 second ahead, so they've brought a little bit of time back. They're 5 seconds. They're in that second to last time check. But they were starting to splinter a little bit when we last saw them. They do look to be a bit neater here. They're all back together. Anna Lamkong sitting on the back there. She has been one that stood out all season as a very strong rider. But we also know that teams' time trials have quite a different dynamic to them. So this is pretty neat. They may be down to 4, but they're doing a pretty good job of keeping it pretty aero and keeping that speed up.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say they're very impressed that the AHDR Caffeine still had 6 riders. It's very rare that you'll see that at the end of the race, all the full suite of riders finishing. So good job to them as well for really sticking together as a team. And that 6-rider combination will make it a lot easier. You got a lot more rest. So I think they could almost have it over TBR Smile, but we have to see the results as they roll in.
And either way, it's been a very tight race, which is great because throughout the season you see some weeks where one team looks to have the natural advantage over another. But this evening it looks like both of these teams have absolutely thrown everything they can out there. And also to Kim Kern-Stokes, who is the manager tonight. She's done an incredible job. Mon, who is normally out there with them as well. Kudos to all of the ladies, I think, Hannah, not only that are out on the bikes, but also sitting on the bench in some capacity tonight. Same goes for the caffeines. We've talked about just the strength of the community, and I think they really all rally each other on.
Yeah, definitely. And a bit of a shout out there to Wonder Wheels, who I saw the New Zealand flag, and it's 10 o'clock at night. So she's, man, that's a intense way to get ready for bed.
Yeah, I can only kind of think what kind of nightmares you might have trying to go to sleep after a team's time trial. But good on her. Well done.
Exactly.
It's a time zone. We try and get the time zones to suit everybody, but that can be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I know I did a bit of racing sort of in an Aussie time zone, and I was finishing at about 11 o'clock at night, and I'd kind of just lie in bed just staring at the ceiling with like twitchy legs. So I think, yeah, kudos to her for getting out there, because I'm not sure she'll be getting a lot of sleep tonight. But yeah, they did really well. Good to see them rounded out. And we ate the cake. Another fave out there. Love this group, love their name. They're coming through into sort of rounding out into the 28 kilometer mark, so about 3k to go, and they're dominating. They're over about 2 minutes 20 ahead of the Comets in second place, so fantastic. But the Comets and Spin Mafia 2 seconds there, so that is a good battle that we'll see play out soon between second and third.
Aphie Reid is leading them along at the moment. She's had a pretty good season as well, Anna. I would say that she's progressed quite significantly throughout season 2 from week 1, and it has been a name that we've mentioned a lot because she kind of seems to be able to do it all. She's been there on every course, which is an absolute credit to her. But two and a bit minutes over their nearest competitors. They're certainly kind of showing them how it's done tonight. But there's a very tight race happening between Comets and Spin Mafia. Only 2 seconds between them at the last time check. So that'll be interesting to see what happens in that final segment into the finish.
Yeah, and it's
this looks not good.
Wow, that does not a really slow cadence. 50 RPM. So yeah, that is.
It looks like she might be waiting there because this is. Yeah, there's a big gap that's opened up here. This is not ideal, but this is also, to their credit, something that happens when you are pushing the limits, when you have another team so hot on your heels and you are just trying to get the absolute best. I think that sometimes that's when you push it just to the limit some gaps can open up, and I think that's what we're seeing here. Justine Clark is having to wait up a little bit. There's also an art in that, Anna, because if she sits up too much, they'll fly straight past her, and that won't
Yeah,
help them keep any
exactly.
speed. So she does need to temper that as well. But a lower cadence suggests that she's just kind of slowing down and waiting for those other riders to catch back.
Yeah, exactly. That was very interesting to pop back and see a total explosion there of the Comets, which isn't great. They're only 2 seconds ahead. So that could actually end up being the bike race for them, and they may drop back into third place. So a little bit disappointing. We'll just we can just see the men's racing now popping up on the left-hand side of our screen. We've got Team Aero in the men's division just passing there, a PNX rider. Looks, I believe that's a PNX rider, or is it an Aero rider who's sort of jumping back on and perhaps isn't in the uniform? That's an interesting little dynamic there. It is an Aero rider, so just obviously didn't get the memo about
You missed the
team
memo.
kit for today,
Yeah,
and
the kit memo.
yeah, decided to go a bit rogue. But yeah, these guys are humming along well. 5 riders. Looks like they started with 6, so they may have dropped one somewhere along the way. 17 kilometers in, they're about to hit this, what I would call the trickiest part of the race. So over this bridge here, over the Thames, into the, what would you call it in the UK? Not subway. It feels like more of an American term. The tube, into the tube station.
Tube.
And
Yes,
tube, underground. And then popping out in the parks where it just rolls and rolls. It really kind of starts to kill the legs. But these guys look like they're going pretty well. 4.95 watts a kg on the front. So good speed here, 48k an hour.
Well, they've just seen their women have a pretty good ride, and I think that they're a pretty tight crew. Again, they've got a really good team in the Prem League. Some of those riders, one in particular, Nick Scolari, who's a very good time trialist. And I think that especially with a club, if you will, an organisation like Aero, they do share a fair bit of knowledge through the group, both men and women, and that really helps them all develop along the way. So I think that they'd have a fair bit of knowledge flow down happening amongst them, and that's could be one of the reasons why they have such good technical outcomes amongst that team. So I like that. I like seeing that happen. We're looking at race 3R here. They are down to 5 already, just past the halfway mark. So they do need to be cautious and make sure they hang on to all 5 riders here.
I do just want to call out the results we're seeing there. So I'm not sure where Deepak is, but Beast Mode's having a nightmare. 3rd place at the first time check. That can't be an ideal scenario for them. Smooth as Sun first. Evo Savages, the pink magenta machine, in 2nd, and then Beast Mode 3rd. That's it's well behind. They've got to pull their socks up a bit there, I think.
Well, given my affinity for Beast Mode, and I have a lot of faith in them because I think as individual riders, we've taken the time to really look at their individual power profiles, and we know that they are a team really of very talented riders, perhaps learning their way in the virtual world because a lot of them are quite accomplished IRL riders or triathletes. And so it could be a good tactic, given how tight actually that whole top 6 is, that they're starting quite civilised and really cranking it up. That wouldn't be a bad way to approach this time trial. But we will know kind of more about that in the next 1 or 2 splits. And I also note, Anna, that Beast Mode have got themselves a new bike sponsor in the last week, Rose Bikes, which is really cool. I think it adds a little bit more legitimacy again to what this esports world really is.
Oh, like a serious bike sponsor.
Yeah, like a serious bike sponsor. So good on them, good on Rose for getting behind them, and it's certainly, I think, a bit of a testament to what Beast Mode are trying to create. So that's exciting.
Now, do they have an in-game bike? I don't think I've seen that before.
I don't think they have an in-game bike yet. But look, that might be on the cards. I don't know. I feel like every week we put in requests to the Zwift technicians. They've probably muted us by now. But maybe Rose, maybe that is on the cards.
You'd hope so, right? Sponsoring an esport virtual team. Um, I was waiting for these messages to start popping up on screen because I saw the Evo team out there. And I know I mention this every week, but I still think it's really cool that this is obviously a team who don't all speak the same language. And you'll see every now and then messages popping up on screen about whose turn it is. They've all got numbers next to their names about who goes in what order. And I just think that's really cool. You've got Ben there from Scotland. I think he's the captain. And then the others will he'll put the messages up and then everyone follows there. So you can just see he's saying 3. So now it's the turn of the third person, and you'll see him popping it up. So really cool there. I remember sort of mentioning that maybe in season 1, and someone gave me the lowdown that it was because they didn't all speak English.
I like that. It's been interesting, hasn't it? We've seen sock colours, we've seen numbers in front of names. We've wondered what that is all about and kind of pontificated a bit on that. It's good to see how the different teams choose to communicate when English isn't the common language amongst all of them, or in fact, there isn't a common language amongst all of them. I think you do need to get a little bit more creative because, of course, in real life, Anna, it's body language. So you can throw an elbow, you can move off, it's a lot less verbal than it is when you're trying to communicate like this. Having said that, they can see themselves all on video, but again, we've also gone to some Twitch feeds where their power's massive, but they're smiling and look pretty relaxed, which can throw it off a little bit. So, communication does become very important.
It's always quite depressing when you see sort of someone's heart rate up in the 185 and you cut over and look at them and they just sort of have a vacant expression on their face pedaling around. You're like, man, I don't look like that.
A very good poker face.
Exactly. And finally, here we go. We see DPAC. Sam Lindsay. What more can you say about this rider other than that he is phenomenal, legit, the real deal from New Zealand, amazing rider, off the front, pulling his team around, but they're only down to 3 riders, which is not great.
Yes. How are you going to spin that? I mean, I think that you're fairly so too. Quite a fan of Sam. Shout out to Sam. But the whole crew actually. But I'm wondering what's happened here. A tech dropout maybe, because this is so unusual for them. They are so well drilled and so well organised, and the 3 of them would not be pushing on like this if in fact they were waiting on a 4th rider. So we might wonder what's going on there. Evo is probably one of the teams I'm very curious to see how they perform tonight. They have had some really good rides in teams' time trials. And look at them, there they are, sitting in 2nd through that first split. So let's see if they can kind of wind that up a little bit. But Deepa, what's going on here?
And they're coming last in that first split, 12 minutes something. This is, I couldn't quite see how many riders they had started with when we looked at that chart in reverse. I don't know if they started with 4 and there's been a technical or what is going on. We'll just see if we can pull that up, because I think they started with 6. So that's really unfortunate if 3 riders have had technicals, like really unfortunate. Almost I'd say unheard of. So if anyone's watching and is from, the DPAC or is there DS or what is going on, that's really unfortunate, because they're going to lose a ton of points and pretty much not be able to, they can finish the race, but it's not going to count.
No, this is disappointing. It's a bummer for them to finish the season like this, given what a juggernaut that they have actually become through this season. So that's a little bit of a bummer for them. I know that we've had all sorts of technical things go on throughout the season, from power cords being pulled out by small humans. Everybody loves a toddler pulling a power cord out, don't they? To internet dropouts, it can happen. It's like having a flat or a fall in real life. It does definitely happen to a portion of the riders on each event, but this is just a real bummer for them. So I'm a bit devo for them, Anna, because I think that they deserve to finish off in absolute best form that they possibly could. So we'll wait to see what's happened there. But shout out to the guys for pushing on as best they can with 3, even though that will not get them a result with the 3 of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, they're still pushing really hard turns. So Sam there was pushing 7 watts a kg. I mean, they're just up into this Richmond Park area. It's sort of on that 4% grade. They're riding really well, but unfortunately, just without that 4th rider, it just doesn't really matter. And yeah, it's not a way you want to set end. We were hoping for a great battle there between Beast Mode and Deepak, and it even looks like Beast Mode isn't having a great day out either. It's sitting in 3rd place. Looked like Evo was ahead of them. So yeah, very bizarre into the men's A division. So let's have a look here. Hashimoto, ZWC, looking great out the front, but unfortunately gapping the teammates there a little bit. So they're a little bit of a hero move there from Hashimoto, which I think I've called him up on before. But it looks like everyone's jumped back on and they're forming a nice little line. Really hard part of the course though, so I'm not surprised that they're sort of moving around a bit and bunching up behind.
Well, Hashimoto's been a cracker this season. He's got quite a kick on him. I don't actually think that this would be his favourite event, but I think he could be very valuable within them. Beast Mode, we've just flicked across to them. Nicholas Ranker, we keep seeing him go into the orange actually. So these guys have got some solid speed. They're just on a slightly false flat, but they've just made a catch over 60k an hour. This is a pretty good squad. So far in that first split, I wonder if that's a little bit deceptive or if that's a really smooth picture, because if that's a clear picture of what's happening, then I can't wait to see Tightest Sun and Evo and pictures of them and how fast they may be travelling.
Yeah, that just looks super tight. Those top 4 or 5, I mean, there's 20 seconds surrounding the top 6 at that first time check. So this has been quite the racing, even though, we've got our number 1 team falling off and really not having the best start to today's race. But this is quite the battle. I'm loving this. It's a great team time trial course because it is, like we've said, not totally flat, but enough. It's not like New York, where you're going up huge King of the Mountains. It's still a way that the best sort of team that can ride together will really get some good time bonuses. And you can see that here. I mean, Evo Savages, I know, are a really tight team and 4 seconds behind Tightest Sun. So, I'm liking this. As we see a pass here from this Rossa training over the top of World Elite Zwifters. Very good pass there. Managed to push through and already got a gap. So that was textbook. That's a textbook way to pass a team and then to drop back for the riders behind.
Well, there's a lot of etiquette that goes into passing, doesn't there? So from my understanding, Anna, and you can confirm or correct me, the team that is being overtaken, they should really slow down a little bit and let the other team through. And the team that is overtaking should, as much as possible, accelerate a little bit and clearly go past them. But what we definitely don't want to see is any riders getting mixed amongst them. It's also considered particularly bad form to sit in any draft of any other team. And so thankfully we have seen some really clear overtakes, because that shows not only a lot of cohesiveness, but also quite a lot of respect. Zed Sun, Anna, I'm not sure if my numbers are off, but it looks like we're missing someone here. This is not a good scenario at all.
So I'm just seeing some messages.
Cycling tips. This is a bit confusing, isn't it?
I'm seeing some messages come through on the socials that, firstly, Deepak does actually have a 4th rider, but no one can see him. So this is, I don't know if anyone's been on the WTRL Zwift Racing League Facebook page recently, but there is a lot of talk going on about ghosting. So there's a little glitch in the system where a rider just disappears, but they're in the results. No one else can see them, but that rider can see everyone else. So it looks like Deepak has got a ghosted rider, and it looks like Zed Sun may have the same.
That's actually kind of cool.
So, there we go.
I mean, weren't we earlier on? They were saying, what did we think could be cool for season 3? I think we've just found it. To have some serious ghosting going on, that could be quite fun. But it is a bit confusing, and it must be very confusing for the riders as well, because that fourth rider is, potentially just hanging on for dear life, and the other three don't know about it. So isn't that like the ultimate kind of trust and communication exercise? Team building,
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
say, to be able to do this without visibility.
yeah, you can just feel the rider next to you. It's like Ghost. But then they must be on
Demi
Discord, so
Moore,
they'll be
anyone?
able to, yeah, they're sitting there making some clay creations. But they'll be on Discord, so they must hear each other and they must be able to tell them where they are. But question is, if there's a ghosted rider, can you draft off them? I'm not sure. That would
Ooh,
be the
good
question.
question. I mean, wasn't it in our opening example, wasn't it poor Terry that was going out the back? I mean,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
conversation, is it like, has anybody seen Terry? I haven't seen Terry. Can you see Terry? I'm still here, says Terry. They're very confusing. I think it's a very abnormal situation going on. Oh, but they're making the overtake here, which is a good one, overtaking Phoenix there, who incidentally are looking very neat. The four of them. Again, this is how we want to see it done, Anna. Straight past,
Mm.
both teams respecting the other and making sure none of them get caught up in draft or in each other's train. And I was going to say, it looks like third wheel there needs to just hang on a little bit more, but he may in fact have an invisible rider in between those wheels. That's kind
Yeah,
of a space out, isn't
exactly.
it?
It is. I do want to say with that past team, though, I mean, you are supposed to drop back, but I can see why teams don't. I mean, they should, but you're just in race mode. And when your heart rate is so high, you see a wheel in front of you and you just want to race, and so you jump on it. And I think that's where teams get in a bit of trouble, is where sort of people just make those mistakes with a bit of hot-headedness and jump on and then go, oh, wait, what am I doing? And then turn around and their whole team's gone. So that was a good pass, though. I liked that. They managed to stay back. And this is the magenta train, I believe. I think this is Evo. I do, but usually they are in the magenta kit. Looking great as always. They've always got a fan here in Mashed Potato, who's usually on YouTube, which he is tonight as well. And that looks like an updated kit. Correct me if I'm wrong. That looks quite new. The Evo kit.
It
It's looking
does. I
very
like
sharp.
it. It's a little bit T-Mobile esque in the way
I'm
that with the
liking it.
magenta there, the hark to that. I really like that as well. And I like Mashed Potato too. I mean, it's a Wiggles song. You've got little kids, Anna, so you probably know. Or yeah, you probably know the Mashed Potato song. It comes to my head every time he pops up on the chat. But they are a good-looking squad, aren't they? Interestingly, none of
Oh,
them are ghosted this evening, so we've got all six.
yeah, they're looking great. I mean, that is almost. I mean, them and TBR are sort of hot runners now for the best kit out there. Someone's got to tell me if that Evo kit is new, because that looks a lot better than it has in previous weeks. Bit of a motley crew with styles there. You've got the sort of grey Santa afro, a few riders back, which I'm not sure on that one, but and a bit sort of oh, that rider there, the shoes and the gloves are a horrendous combination. So a few lost points there with the sharp-looking kit. I mean, they really could have made that look a lot better. What is that?
Said with all due respect to Pirapong, of course, with those blue shoes. What were you thinking? You knew Anna would be out tonight. Goodness me. Maybe he
Oh, I
thought you might
know.
be off again, and Nathan would be a bit kinder to him.
Yeah, exactly. Nathan's too nice. But there's Santa coming by too, so he's in the off season. He's just losing a bit of that Christmas fat and looking
Ho ho
quite
ho.
good. Third wheel in. That's a quite the look
He
there.
actually
I
looks
can't
like
say I've ever
Doc
seen
out
that.
of Back to the Future.
Yes,
That's
with
what
those
I'm
they've all got the
seeing.
same glasses on. They've all got this weird kind of futuristic glasses. Love it. These guys have pulled out some serious looks tonight. They're doing well. I like it.
Yeah, well, I think at this point in the race, they're only a couple of kilometres from the end. Their heart rates are pretty high. They'd be breathing fairly heavily. So I'm not sure that they're thinking about too much right now except surviving to the finish. But they've done a really good job to get there with six riders as well, and keeping that pace really high. I am so interested in what these final splits will end up being. We got a bit of a taster in that first split, but we have had a little bit of controversy with the ghosting. So we need to figure out what's going on there. It would be really tough for a team. I mean, all jokes aside, and even though we've had a bit of a laugh with it, it would be really tough on the individual and also on the team.
Yeah, there's mashed potato.
This one's for
the
you,
Evo
Anna.
fan.
Yeah,
I think they washed the kit earlier. Well, I'm not surprised. It does look very shiny, and mashed potato was always calling out the magenta kit. So great to see that he's also calling that out tonight. So love it. And these guys are finishing off extremely strong here, riding about 50k an hour down the Mel. With perfect formation. So Evo, very good. They were in second, I believe, to the Zed Sun team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've caught up quite a bit of time.
Yeah, that's what we were seeing early on, and then it was beast mode that came in. We will get results at the end, so we will be able to confirm what has happened in the overall. But for now, we just have to watch these guys belt toward the finish, still keeping that speed very high. Now, if it was an earlier stage in the race, Anna, I'd say, oh dear, caution against any of these gaps opening up. But at this stage, they are on that final run in after they do that U-turn on the Mal. And so now it's pretty much everybody throw out what they possibly can and get to the finish as fast as they can. So that's what they're aiming for here, certainly. A little bit of conversation going on there on my wheel, a bit of encouragement amongst them. That shows a pretty tight-knit unit that at this stage, with heart rate so high, they can still encourage each other.
Yeah, so they're a very, very cohesive team, this Evo team. And they've got a lot of fans out here cheering them on. So they've been doing it very, very well. We're just looking at some of the B category riders at the moment. Another magenta kit. Is this another Evo kit? Must be. They've got Kiwi rider, American, French, Australian. Looks like they're going for the same thing here with their number order in front of their name. Keeps it nice and clear. But I'd imagine most of them would speak the same language in this B cat team. Seb from France may need to speak a little bit of English, but yeah, it looks like these guys are rolling on great. They've all got that Super 9 wheel, it looks like, as well, so obviously very experienced Zwifters. Looking really good here. I don't think I've seen this team in the B-Cat before looking so strong.
I mean, regardless of how experienced they are in terms of number of kilometres done and climbed, a lot of them are still really learning the nuances of riding teams' time trials. And I'm pretty pleased to say that overall today, it's been a really neat show. We are looking at those teams that we don't know what's going on with the ghosting or the lower numbers or whatever. That's really been our only criticism that was a bit misguided because we didn't understand what was happening there. But every other team, Anna, has been really ready for a lot of compliments because they've been riding in really good formation. They're really neat. And if we look at the team league standings here, the Evo Barbarians and the Blowflies are on equal points. Whoever wins out of those pair tonight or is higher finishing will take bragging rights for the men's Div B and will move up. So there's actually quite a lot on the line tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of makes more sense now as I look at this team. I mean, they've come out full noise to have a great race and riding here very, very well, just pushing through some dropped riders. Not sure how AHDR Blowflies are going, but yeah, that's a really, really tight battle at the top. And even Dirty Sprockets in third isn't that far behind, 5 points. This is AHDR here, so they've still got 6 riders. So similar to Evo, who we saw before, these guys are racing really well. So this is, I'm liking this. Good battle here in this B category.
It's great across all the divisions how tight it's been, really. And you're right, you look down at 128 points, Dirty Sprockets, they're not too far off at all. And I love this public messaging that's going on as well. There's a lot of encouragement going on, not only within the teams, but also to other teams. It is a real community feel. And even though everybody is absolutely out there tonight to get a result for this final week of the ordinary season before we head into playoffs, I get a bit of a sense of camaraderie amongst the manor. Like they've all been through this together and now they get to have just a little bit of fun amongst it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say as much as the women's field. I don't feel like they're all going to have a hug at the finish line like I felt with some of the women's cats. But yeah, there's definitely not too much angst. I don't see many angry messages. They all seem to be riding pretty well together. I think when it comes down to the last race and they know they've got, a bit of a gap till the next series starts, people start to go, oh, bit nostalgic now, and but emotional finishing this up. I've seen you guys every week for the past 2 months, and especially when a lot of these people are in lockdown, it is kind of a bit of your sort of social outlet. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing nice messages in the last race of this season.
So much better to get to the finish with 6, of course. It makes it a little bit friendlier all around. So we're seeing a good show of that going on here. The 6 of them working together. And again here, Evo, this beautiful kit that you were talking about in the magenta. They've also washed it and it's nice and squeaky clean and sparkly. This crew is looking good. I think across the divisions, they do again share a little bit of knowledge and experience because we're seeing quite similar patterns in the way the teams race, whether it be in A, B, so on and so forth. And that's pretty cool to know that they do have that depth and they are really giving as many opportunities as they can.
Yeah, it is really good to see, and I wouldn't. Looking at some of those power numbers that Bean here was riding, some of these Bs may be looking at riding for the A team. It is what's quite good when you've got teams across multiple categories like Evo does, that it's a good sort of stepping stone for those in the lower cats to think about moving up if they can get their power numbers higher. Just looks like one of them has decided to exit out and do a bit of a workout in Zwift on course. So let's have a look what's happening with the team time trial. We just saw, I think it was Bean there from Evo. Like I was saying, was pushing some really high numbers, about 4.5 watts a kg. And these guys are still doing extremely well. They're going to hit quite a climb here. So that's where we saw a few of the teams totally detonate. So let's see what sort of strategy they go with here. Usually you put a sort of lighter rider on the front, have them drill up the climb and have everyone jump on wheels, which looks like they're doing. They're sort of not keeping that straight line format. They're sort of bunching up, which is perfect, just pacing each other up the climb. And then they'll take that left and it sort of flattens out right to the mall where they hit that sort of last 1,500 meters. Very impressive ride here, though, from Evo B.
That last 1,500 meters certainly bites. But you're on the home straight, and certainly mentally, I think when you know that you're coming into the finish, you can get your head around that a lot more so than on a course like this when you haven't even hit the bottom of the Surrey Hills there. So if you are struggling on the mall on the first way through, it can be a little bit mentally taxing, but overall a really good display. And there are so many riders out on course across this community division from A to D for the men and the women, which has been amazing. Anna, I reckon, to just have so many people participating each week in this platform.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is, the last week of 8. That's, 2 months, and you're still seeing such good numbers in this last racing. Usually you see a little bit of a drop-off, but I think people are just super pumped to see the same crew each week work with each other. I know the teams that I work with, you're sort of messaging and then you're making playlists and then you're doing recon. So it's not just today, it's sort of like a whole lot of messaging and camaraderie leading up to the event and then coming out of the event. So it's a really good thing that we've got going here with WTRL. I'm liking how these last series have worked, and we can see here Dirt looking like they're coming in about 30k, so they've got just over 1 kilometre to go, 1.1 to go. You round this end hairpin and then push out, and basically it's a sprint to the line. Dirt, Dad's Inside Riding trainers, love this crew. They sent me some stickers, actually, really, really cool stickers. So they've got a nice little merch situation happening too. I think you can wear that kit in real life, which would be pretty rad as well.
Well, dirt works really well, but imagine if they tried to make that with mums, like Mert. It doesn't quite have the same, the same ring to it, does it? Mert. But they do have a good kit, and I believe they did actually. Our producers just jumped on Anna to tell us they did have Merts for a while. It just doesn't really roll off the tongue in the same way, does it? But they do have a
No.
great kit. It's got a baby bottle in the back pocket, doesn't it? And it's a good reminder. We often shout out to all the mums who are multitasking, but of course, there's a whole heap of dads that are multitasking too. So it's good
There
to
we
see them.
go.
There it is, that fabulous kit with the baby bottle in the back there. But it is. It's great to see them all getting out and giving it a crack as well.
Yeah, for sure. I actually started a group called Badass Mums a couple of years ago now when my son was born, and we have a little Facebook group, Zwift Badass Mums, and yeah, I thought BAM sounded a little bit better than MERT, so that's why we got that acronym going.
Yeah, I like that. I think BAM is slightly catchier than Mert, but same sentiment, so it all works.
There we go. Exactly. Looking here at Weatherall, rounding out the bees, they've just got 100 meters to go. You can see the finish line right there. They just went over the sprint. Just 3 of them there. I think there's a 4th rider who's just dropped off the back a little bit, unless they've got a ghoster. No, there they are. So finishing pretty strong. No sprint, no orange numbers there. It looks like they've emptied the tank earlier on.
And that's not a bad thing. I think it is not only a bit of a learning experience with how much you can empty the tank and then still get to the finish with your full group of riders, but also sometimes those surges are not necessarily particularly helpful. They're pretty lucky, actually, that they don't have these horrific conditions in their pain caves, because this looks pretty nasty, doesn't it, with the rain? This is really typical London, isn't it? Turning this hideous weather on for the riders. Anna, do you reckon that when it's these conditions in game, it makes you irk at all, or does it just really not bother you?
Oh, I don't like it because I think, man, I don't want to be riding in the rain virtually. Like, I just want it to be beautiful all the time virtually. So I don't like seeing conditions like this. It does remind me, though, seeing these pink kits and the rain, is at the Tour de France many years ago. Lampre, was it, had the pink kit, and they had a team time trial and the whole team crashed, I think. It was really scary conditions to team time trials. So that's imprinted on my brain, and that's exactly what this looks like with this team finishing.
Yeah, well, look, Anna, it has been such a sensational season 2 here. We'll get some results through when we can, but what we do know is that there were some pretty tight races out on course, and that is for both the men and the women. Not just the A's. I think it's really easy to go the A, but this season we've seen B, C, and D really produce some incredible competitions amongst them, but also possibly this new feature with the ghosting. I feel like they might iron that one out pretty quickly when they can. We'll have to see where that all comes out in the results to see what actually happened there, but also a bit of first-hand feedback from them about, what were they seeing, and did they think it was all normal until they watched the screen? I mean, it's a bit of a curious one, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. It's not quite the ghost of 10 seconds. And I said in my video, I wanted the ghost power to be a bit longer, but maybe not for an entire race. So just a little bit shorter, maybe 15 seconds. So hopefully we'll see.
So this is your doing, is what you're saying.
Maybe it is.
Well, let's take a look at the
Sorry, everyone.
at the women's results first up, and we'll see how that ended up. Bit of a drum roll for these warriors. Aero, look at that. Anna, they took the win tonight. This is what we were talking about at the beginning. It looks on paper like Zed Sun had the season all wrapped up and they were dominant, but in fact it's been a lot of back and forth. So Aero taking the win tonight, so good on them. Great way to finish off this season. Zed Sun coming in second. That will be reversed on the overall for the season, but massive kudos to both of those teams.
And it looks like the tight race here in the Bs between the Caffeines and TBR Smile On. Ooh, that was Caffeine's took that out by 19 seconds over TBR Smile On. So that was only 2 seconds in, and then a huge push at the end by the Caffeine. So great job there. But great job all around. We've always liked TBR Smile On too, so they shouldn't be too gutted. They've raced really well this season.
They haven't. Look, that was a pretty tight race when we were watching it. So that happened in the last kind of split, but good racing. Talking about good racing, look at the top three here. Within 2.5 seconds, the top four within 5. Oh my gosh, this is a tight one. So we ate the cake. They took the win. Spin Mafia in second and Comets in third. They were both on a tight one, Spin Mafia and the Comets. Rave C in fourth, the Cruzettes in fifth. A big shout out to the AHDRL crew for having so many different teams represented. The Cycling Mums Australia, Queen Bee in sixth. And your favourite rat animal there, the Bilbies, Anna, they came in seventh.
And the D's, the Degenerates, dominant win. 1 minute 24 ahead of the Diamonds. And then the CMA Velo Girls, I don't know if they had a ghoster or they did actually just have 3 riders. Looks like they did finish with 4, so maybe a ghoster there. They were 10 minutes behind though, so a bit of a tough day in the office for them.
That was a good race across the board though. And again, AHDRL, they fielded a lot of teams, as did the Cycling Mums Australia, so it's been great to have them. Wowie, Anna, we did not see this coming because we did not know what was happening out on course, but Beast Mode have pulled it off.
Wow.
And with a pretty impressive but efficient watts per kg there. 39 minutes and 15 seconds for the 31.5 kilometres, ahead of the Savages, only 5.75 seconds. DPAC, there they are with their Ghoster, 32.38 seconds adrift. Would have been very difficult for them to race in those conditions. Team ZWC Blast in fourth. The World Elite Zwift is number 2 in fifth. Cryogen Super Banieres in sixth. The Aero Masters in seventh. R3R Bowie in eighth. WMZ All Stars in ninth. And the Pioneers rounding out that top 10. But that's a great result. And a pretty tight one in the end. Evo, we knew they were on a good one, but Beast Mode just pipped them. Good way to finish a cracking season for them, Anna. And I think that might just push Beast Mode into the lead overall. That's going to be pretty tight between them and DPAC. So we'll wait to see that, but that's a cracking way to finish it.
Oh, for sure. And looking here, we have the AHDR Blowflies. So they came first with the Zwift HQ Ravens because they were quite far down the table. So they've had a great race. Cryogen Etna's in third. WMZ Bumbles in fourth. Zed Sundries in fifth. The Tune Bikeworks in sixth. TBR 49 Tooth in seventh. And the Velo Clubs in eighth. So great racing there in the E category as well.
So let's take a look at the Cs and we'll look at what we have so far. Again, there's a lot of teams out on course tonight and a whole lot of tech flying around. WNZ Chasers taking the win there ahead of Charlie, the Big Ring 46 Tooth, Valhalla, Levitine sitting in fourth, Evo Flux sitting in fifth. But we will have to wait until a few more results flow in there. So good on them. Anna, I feel like I keep saying that, but I really am kind of quite proud of how these teams have shown up week in, week out and really made it very competitive. So let's take a look at the standings overall here, Anna. And Zed Sun, quite a dominant win over Aero in the end.
Yeah, I mean, look at that, 154 to 139. It's been a great head-to-head battle, probably more, I'd say, in the sort of who's winning each race. You know, if we've seen great races from Jess Bemrose, but then also Danette Shaw. So I think just the head-to-head at the individual level has been really interesting between these two teams.
All right, let's take a look at what we've got here with the Bees, the Caffeines, taking the win 2 points ahead of TBR Smile On. But again, really cracking racing. And to their credit, TBR pushed them all the way today with some pretty tight time checks along the way. It wasn't quite to be, but they can certainly say that they went out throwing everything they could at it.
And big lot of races here in the C division. We ate the cake. talked about them a lot. They had a great race, dominant performance, and they've won the C category very convincingly. Spin Mafia and Comets, though, that was tighter. Spin Mafia came out on top in second, Comets in third, the Cruzettes in fourth, Rave C in fifth, Herd of Bilbies in sixth, and the CMA Queen Bees in seventh.
All right, let's take a look at the Ds here. We've got the Degenerates taking quite a decent win there over the Diamonds in second. Cycling Mums Australia, the Velo Girls, they rocked in for third. I'm pleased to see them showing up when they could. So this is a division, I think, Anna, that will continue to grow in depth. So let's take a look at the A men for the overall league standings. We only have the A so far. Oh, Anna, 1 point.
Wow.
APAC. Sam Lindsay and his crew have taken it out, 156 points.
Oh, close. Look how close. 1 point at the end of 8 weeks. That is phenomenal. I love that. And then look at third and fourth. Tied.
Boy, this is
That's
definitely probably the best standings that we have seen so far. So, look, we have had some pretty incredible racing overall. Deepak just taking the win there ahead of Beast Mode in the overall. What I have found so fascinating about all of these races, Anna, is that it's really easy to look at the points chart and think you understand what's going out on course, but it's actually not true at all. We've had such dynamic racing, and just the way that the points are structured sometimes means some teams can kind of strategically leverage that and get some overall points. But it's blown my mind how competitive it's been this season. And again, we do talk about the A's a lot. We've had those results, but the B's, the C's, the D's, the results will be over on WTRL.racing. It's been across the board, really tight competition.
Oh, it's been great. You see, how can teams still be even points after 8 weeks? Phenomenal, and you see the team time trial, teams only split by less than 20 seconds. It's just, I think every time we see people racing week on week on week, they're just getting better and better and better. And each category is just getting better altogether. So, I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, I'm super proud of everyone racing in this APAC division. It's been great to commentate and just super fun, and just seeing growth of particular riders, personalities coming out, lots of people coming into the chats with fan personalities. Yeah, it's been phenomenal.
And don't forget the fashion watch, of course, Anna. Well, this marks the end of the regular season too. We've got the playoffs coming up this weekend, so that'll be Friday and Saturday night, US UK time zone. Saturday and Sunday for the APAC time zone. So this is a bit of a look here at what's going to happen in that playoffs. For the men to get through to the Premier division, there is a points race. There is a team's time trial. So for APAC, we've got some people going into that playoff there. Anna, there's a lot on the line. This is serious business, and it is the same for the women.
Yeah, it is really serious, and it's quite scary, I would say, almost, that it's over 2 days. You have to back up. You're going to have tired legs. You've got to be thinking about nutrition. You've got to be thinking about hydration, like all of that kind of stuff. If you want to take it seriously, you've also got to start studying your competition, watching, well, who are the top people in another league? What do I have to watch for? You don't know them as well. And that makes it really hard. When it's people in your own league, you sort of know when they might attack, their sort of style, but this is just throwing everyone together. It's going to be super exciting.
I feel like this is where Anna Russell Whiteboard Consulting really comes into the fore. If anybody needs any advice, just slide on into Anna's DMs there, and she might be able to help
exactly.
you out. But in all seriousness, I think you are spot on right. That it really comes into strategy and play here. A lot of the Zwift conversations I have mid-ride are talking about the things we'll eat afterwards. They usually include cakes, donuts, and if you can read my T-shirt, tacos. So I think the teams will maybe want to watch their nutrition a little bit more than that heading into the playoffs. But Anna, I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank you immensely for your commentary this season. as well as our background team, Nathan, of course, on production, and Martin, who is even more of a data nerd than you are, I think, who pulls all that together for us. So we're very grateful to him over at WTRL for making all of this happen. But make sure that everybody tunes in for the playoffs. To the teams, Anna, going forward, I just wish them the absolute best of luck. And I think I can say for both of us, it's been a real privilege to commentate on everybody in season 2. And I'm already counting down the days to season 3. Am I tragic? Maybe.
No, no. You're not a tragic here. I'm counting down too.
Well,
It's
if I
going to
am,
be awesome.
you're right there with me.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a blast. This is awesome. Kate, you're wicked to work with, and yeah, Nathan and Martin, super great to have them in our ears as well. So yeah, I've been pumped. The season's been awesome.
Unreal. Well, everybody head over to WTRL.racing to make sure you pick up all of those results. Thank you so much for joining us for season 2. We will see you for the playoffs, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.